How you doing, everybody? Hi, Geezer. Hi, Blake. Hi, Stefan and John and Warren and Mark. Oh boy. Uh, Let me ask you. Hi, Joe, Joseph. Uh, Yesterday we had trouble with the video. Is it okay today? And the sound? Everything okay? Maso Menos. Okay. Uh okay, great. It's good. Hi, Mark. Um, Okie doke. Uh, Today I thought would be a good day for hi Mezzine 44. Great. Okay. Everything's good. What I thought we would do today is have watch stores. Hey James. Um Mark. Okay. What I'd like to start today with a couple observations. My wife was telling me that there's been a rise in domestic violence cases, which is I, I don't know who's getting hit, but not good. But I can see that happening. Hey, Carlos. Hey, thanks, Geezer. Good one. Um, the you know, maybe it's not such a good time to buy a watch. I don't know. Any family attorneys in the crowd might be good for them. Hi, Tippy. Uh, anyway, hey, Brendan. The whole one of those things that would be sort of a crazy thing to happen. Well, let me tell you a watch story. Um, One that happened. There's a guy in England. He shows up every now and then. His name is Bill A. He's a super duper nice guy. He makes watches. In fact, he gave me some really great tips on watchmaking. Hi, Bruce. And divorce was high after COVID-19 in China. Yeah, John, I'm not surprised. This is what I was thinking. One of the worst things that can happen. You see a lot of these planning these big weddings, and now they have to ditch them. But could you imagine? You have a honeymoon. You get on. You go on a romantic honeymoon cruise for your. And you get stuck at sea, and you're confined to your cabin. Man. Oh, hey, truth fears. Anyway, well, I don't want to dwell on that, but I was going to say, you buy a watch, boy, sort of hard to hide. Or you could say you were getting some mask. I don't like those masks at all. I wore one this morning because we had to. We went to the grocery store and um. Anyway, what was the reason for the increase in domestic violence? Probably, I think the quarantine. I mean, everybody's got to be cooped up together. We got a pretty big house so that my wife can go down to one end and downstairs if she wants and get away from me, or vice versa. So, but I mean, a couple living in an apartment that could get tight and not very much fun. They're not at work. They're not seeing the people at work. Stuff like that. It's not. It's one of those things that it's would test any relationship. I think. Anyway, Mark. That's yeah. They had another thing after this was all over. All of the pregnancy rate goes sky high. We'll have a bunch of children growing up known as the Q generation from the quarantine. Hey, Turkey Vulture, flipping Zippo. Okay, too much time spent on watch podcasts. That's it, Mezzine. They went nuts. The wife said, "Are you watching that guy again? Come here!" Wow. Okay, let me tell you a watch story. This is funny and it's not funny. This watch I got, I've had this on a lot because I keep it right here because it's my regulator. And this is what they used to do when they were making watches. They actually had a regulator clock, and everybody would look at the regulator clock and do their regulations on the movements. And then they decided to make a regulator watch for, I don't know if it was for practical reasons or somebody said, hey, wouldn't it be a good idea if we had a watch like that? And so I have my regulator watch. I told everybody about it. I said it was, instead of getting one for $40,000 from Laurent Ferrier, which is really, really nice. Laurent Ferrier, which is super cool. I got this one, from this outfit in China for $200, and it's really been great. Hi, Warren. And so, hey, Sam, David, how's it going? So anyway, there were a lot of people, I guess, who had the same idea that I did, and they sold out. And so the guy who lives in Hong Kong, it's called Perpetual Watches in China. So he made some more, and they sold out, and he made some more, and they sold out. So finally, he got to this last batch, and one of our friends, and all of our friends who's on this list said, well, he decided he's going to get one, $200. Heck, he could go for that. So he orders one from the guy, and that's when everything started going wrong. I mean, it was sort of the perfect storm of a watch deal going on. There was one good thing about it, and that's that the guy who runs on the Chinese side is really a good guy. He's honest. He returned his money. He gave him another option. I mean, all kinds of things like that. So here's what happened. So the guy's making a new batch of regulators. And so he orders the movements. And this is one of the reasons I got it, is that there is a purpose-built movement from Siegel. In other words, when I say purpose-built, I mean they say, okay, we're going to have 3 pivots that people can make regulators with, for one for the hour, one for the minute, and one for the seconds. And then they could put them out on in 3 different subdials. I use the main dial for sort of a big sweep hand. So anyway, so he gets this batch of movements from Siegel, and there was something wrong with them. They were weird. So he had to contact all the people who had ordered them and said, well, this is going to take us a little longer, and here's what happened. And so then he goes back. Now this thing is in Hong Kong. All right. The next thing that happens, there are all of these protests in Hong Kong. So that's sort of was somewhat disruptive. So that went wrong. So finally getting everything, is getting the movements, and boom, up comes the quarantine. So the poor guy, he decided he just asked for his money back. But I mean, of all of talk about everything going wrong with a watch order. I felt bad. I hope he gets it. Maybe after this whole thing is ordered, the guys, he'll get the movements he wants and everything else. Okay, that's my story. Hi, Clyde. Anyway, Javier, how you doing? Crappy Luxy, how you doing? Okay, let's see. But I'm finishing the 4th week of lockup. We call it lockdown. You call it lockup. That's probably just as accurate. 10 days without walking outside except for essential shopping. No complaints. It could be much worse. How? That's what we could all be in the hospital hooked up to a ventilator, or even worse, all in the hospital. There weren't any ventilators available. Okay, here's a watch story. Joe's got one. Sold his FP Souverain and Patek to raise funds for our Gronfield. Then he lived happily ever after. I tell you, I don't think I'd want to sell my FP Journe Souverain. That would be a very hard thing to do because I like to wear it so much. Hey, Forbin, Hong Kong claims they are shipping as normal. Well, let me put it this way: they would like to be shipping as normal. I got, the thing is, Forbin, I had ordered 2 identical movements, and I got both of them. So, it took about 3 weeks, I think, which is about normal. And this is going through AliExpress. So anyhow, Okay, let's see. Hey, Travis Morrison, how you doing? Okay, the other thing that wanted to talk about, uh, see, plus first, okay, you need to try one on. What about that? I realized is that the great majority of watches that I have, I never tried on ahead of time. I've got 4 sitting here. I've got my Beauvais, and then I have my Old Faithful regulator, and then I have my Outlaw watch, and, I never tried any one of them on, before I bought them, and so it's worked out for me. Once the ones I did try on worked out fine too, but, a couple of them that I never tried on, they worked out fine. This is why I I think that, especially with the lower costs that you have by an online kind of marketing, uh, that's people aren't going to mind it as much as the new CEO at, I think he's at Audemars Piguet, had a big article about it. So, oh, people like to try them on. Yeah, I like to try them on, but if the difference between looking at a watch online, seeing a bunch of good pictures of them, and going into a shop. Now, there is big value of trying on a watch. I agree. So I'm not arguing that. I tried on some this one brand, a very famous brand, very expensive brand too, and I just didn't like it. It was the watches just didn't feel they didn't have that heft. I think that there's a certain heft. I don't know. I can't describe it any other way that really good watches have, and all of them have it, and I'm not sure what it is. I was told, well, it was I tried on the steel models and the noble metals, had the heft I like. Oh, this is all steel, and it's got wonderful heft. Everything about it is, it feels right. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Do you have to try on a lot? Bought some shares and watches of oh, no. Oh, Paul, you did that. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, man. Oh, that was jeez. Now, Paul, Watches of Switzerland, that's a different one. There was, the guy, who was running, Time of Switzerland, myself and others that had great exchanges with him, and then something went wrong, and doesn't seem to have recovered. But I didn't know Watches of Switzerland was selling. Yeah, Dave Williams, good to still be employed. Yeah, that's true for I think everyone. Or in my case, good to be retired. Swiss made were never 100% Swiss made. Yeah, that's true. It's just the name Swiss made. I tell you something, Truth Fears, that's sort of interesting. One watch that was totally Swiss made are those by F.P. Journe. But F.P. Journe never deigned to put in on Swiss made, nor did he ever deign to have a COSC. He said the way he did it, he didn't care what they thought. And that's FP Journe, and that's one of the things that sort of makes him sort of a fun troublemaker. But his stuff is so good, and it's all made in Switzerland. What he did was even funnier. More recently, he started putting on, rather than Swiss made, he would it was either made in Geneva or Geneva made. So that I thought was sort of funny. Okay, let's see. What do we have here? Um, Policy listed on the London Stock Exchange. Man, I tell you, no offense to anybody, especially if you work for a watch company or you are a watch company, that's the last thing I'd ever buy stock in for lots of reasons. Mainly because it just seems like it's really rough. I mean, it's a very rough business, and dependent on all kinds of things that you have no control over. It's just, you know, a rough one. Um, yeah, no, I've seen them. Are they still in business, Paul? I hate it when watches have heft or are bulky. I like to be able to forget that I have a watch on. Well, Sam M, a well-made watch does that. All of my watch, this has got really nice heft to it, and I forget I have it on. So I mean, yeah, you get I don't know. There's something about a light watch that doesn't do it for me. So Sam, that's okay. I'd rather get land than stocks. I don't, man. I tell you, I don't know what to invest in. Um, I've always been really dumb lucky in investments, and I'll just leave it at that. And by dumb lucky, I mean I'll buy something and or sell it at a time. Never know. It's just I don't even try to be smart in that. If you know you're not smart in it, then stick with it. Um, yeah, Mark, just ask the Pharaoh. you know, you know, Mark, I tell you something really interesting. I've sent a couple emails to Concepto, and Concepto is a movement making company in I forgot the name of the town that Jacques SA was in, and La Joux-Pierre is still in. I think it's La Fond de something or something. They soak the phone. Forgot. Anyway, uh, I've been trying to, because I would love to contact the Pharaoh and say, hey, I really like this movement that you have in the 736. Could you tell me something about it? Because it's a shape movement, and we've been guessing, because he was an assembler. He wasn't a watchmaker, so to speak. And so, but here he's got this wonderful shape movement in the 736, and I'm trying to figure out, well, what was that based on? And right now, I think one of the smartest guesses is the Pazu 7001, but even that I think is still speculation. Ask Maso, Tim. Okay, that's a good idea. Kafu property prices. Buy a Bulgari Octofinessimo. Wears like a feather. There you go. Before I gave that to our son, I tried on I wore the Bulgari, the big Octo Roma. That thing's got a real thick strap, and you don't feel a thing. La Chute de Fonds, that's it. Mark, that was where it was. Hey, Beauty of Scent, how you doing? Where is Chic this evening? Shrek. I, I don't know. Uh, I think I'm going to buy stock in chicken. Chicken soup. That might be an idea. Uh, Chicken stock. Yeah. Okay. I don't know where Clyde is. We have two Clydes, so we have one Clyde. Having two is just a bonus. We don't get all we need. Well, too high on the list. I tell you, I was talking today, or sort of we're going back and forth about the Zaza Lecoutre True Seconds. Okay, the reason I like True Second is it's probably the only repertoire I'll be able to afford unless I hit the lotto or something else happens. And so I was talking about that when I was, well, that's just a high price um quartz because it has jumping seconds, but it also has jumping hours, but that's neither here nor there. The reason I wanted to get it was that it has a repertoire. I thought that was really cool. They're going on about that. Is that like, isn't anybody really interested in the movement itself? I mean, the interesting, intricate part of it. But oh well, I can do that with a quartz. You know. Okay. Oh boy. Okay. What else is going on? Once we had multicolored TP in the US. What? What is that? Okay. Jesus. We're trying to talk about watch movement. No, I want to hear about multicolored toilet paper. That's that's something. Jesus. Oh, yeah, you buy it in cleaning supplies. That might be a good thing, but like the curve, that bell-shaped curve they have that also, but that can go down awfully fast. Can you refresh my memory and explain what a remontoy is? Um, that's a nice way of putting it. Refresh my memory. I use that myself. I have no idea what it is. A remontoy is actually a French term for rewind, and the what it was used for originally, Travis, or at least my introduction to it was used for, was that I think Brigade, but I could be wrong about that. But I know for sure FP Jorn has one. It was one of the early ones he did. And the idea behind it is for a constant force. And so what you have a mainspring providing most of the energy. But the thing with the mainspring that as it expands, it can lose some of its charge. I mean, some of the power in it. And there have been all kinds of solutions to deal with that. Now, one of the early solutions that I really liked was that as it unwound, it would wind this other little almost hairspring, and then it would unwind. But since it was fully wound and it didn't have very far to go, that the charge would always be the same. And so you have this little wind, unwind, wind, unwind, and the unwind part, uh, that would be where the constant force came from, but the winding would be provided by the mainspring. And so to me, it just what a fascinating solution to the problem for a constant force. Well, the problem is that they're very expensive. Who was it? Bruce and and I think Adam were at the Watch Time show last October in New York, and we talked to Stephen Forsay about it and a lot of other things. We were talking to him, and I asked him. I said, how come more watch companies don't have that? And he gave me the best answer I've ever heard. He says it's really hard. They're really hard to do. Hey, Yasher, how you doing? Uh, would you please advise the idea about Rolex Explorer 1? Oh boy. A Rolex Explorer 1. I don't know. I like the 2 and I like the Polar, but that's about it. Man, I tell you, just not don't know much about that. I cry me. I I see I Sirami. Hi from Thailand. Hi Thailand. How's everybody there? This morning, what's his name? Well, another guy from Thailand too who comes on here too. Uh, yeah, Travis, that was the best I could do. It's really to me, it's a very very interesting complication. There you are, Bruce. Yeah, you and I and Adam, yeah, and we were talking to Stephen Forsay about it. He said it's hard. They have one, but they're still $40,000, $50,000, and you can get the best price that I've seen on a new Jaja Lecoultre true second. Their geophysic true second. It's about $7,000, and that's something I can save up for. It might take a while, but that happens. $8.99 at Joma Shop. Yeah, no, that's probably the one at Joma Shop. Probably has the metal bracelet. Truth Spheres. Are you talking about the Jaja Lecoultre True Second? The ones with the one I'm talking about, I can find for about 7,000. Has the a leather or gator strap to it. Let's see. Nino, what's up? Hi from Smithtown, Long Island. You're from Long Island, Nino? Well, I shouldn't laugh about Long. Oh, not Long Island. I'm not thinking of. Is that for Long Island? I shouldn't. I'm not thinking of Long Island. I was thinking of Rhode Island. Something about Rhode Island that's just fun. I'll put it that way. I saw Breguet Remontois for $500 in Chrono 24. Do they have a Remontois there, Tippy? A Breguet Remontois? I didn't even know Breguet made a Remontois. Okay. Let's see. I was speaking Armand Nicolette. Armand Nicolette. Okay. I saw a beautiful JLC complete calendar moon phase for just over 5,000. Yeah, they make wonderful moon phases. I like those. Rectangular Armand Nicolette. Okay. Hey, Fahrenheit, I'd love to see sporting solid gold sub. That's not going to happen. I don't think, Fahrenheit. What would you do with a solid gold sub? It sounds like something, if you're committing suicide and you jump off a bridge and you have one of those things, it'll pull you to the bottom. Otherwise, I'm not sure what I would do with one. Nothing wrong with them. Do you prefer dress watches over sports watches? It's funny, probably, yeah. The answer to that would be sort of yes. Um, the thin, really fancy dress watches that we talked about the other day. Um, I not as much. Like my most iconic dress watch is my Patek Philippe Calatrava, and I hardly ever wear it. The ones I like, I guess I would call this an office watch, this kind of watch. This one, my FP Journe Chronomet Rain, the H. Moser, the I like my double hairspring, but I really like to wear the what's it called, the Endeavor Center Second. There, all three of these could pass as a dress watch, I suppose. I don't know, but I like something like this. This is pretty much the kind of watch I like. This is another one I could probably get away with this one as being a dress watch. The thing is, I think to me, the most important thing about a watch to me is that it's interesting. This has got a wonderfully interesting in the back, the way they have it set up. They got that big diamond sitting on top of the balance pinion. And then they have this frosted gold, and then they have the trigonal bridge. I mean, the watch itself is a wonderfully accurate watch, and it's fun to look at. I mean, it's nice, but boy, the back is great to look at. This one, I like this one front and back. You got stuff you like, and not really worried whether it's a sports watch, a dress watch. I'm thinking about there are two. Oh, let me ask you guys something. Hi, Tim. Let me ask you guys something. I'm looking at two different sports watches. One sports watch is one of those Pershings they made for the Brazilian football clubs, and then all of the people they made the deal with went to prison, that's one, and it has a Parmigiani movement, which is nice movement. The other one is a Roger Dubois, and I think it has, or Dubuis, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And it has a RD 157 movement, which is I think it's a Lamania, but I'm not positive. It's not one of his. When he and the other guy started it, they used outhouse movements, so to speak. I don't know. I like them both. What do you guys think? Whoa, Boy, Nino, that looks like a good buy. Uh, uh, See, I think I saw that today. A Pershing chronomet, yeah, a chronographer. Chronographer. Not only does it have a in-house movement, but it's done by the watchmaker still alive. Those things have really dropped in price. They weren't popular. I don't know what the deal was with Pershing because I think they originally had some kind of deal with the Pershing boat people. I don't know, but that looks pretty good to me. The only thing I don't like about Touch of Modern is they don't negotiate. I tried it, and the guy said, "Well," he said, that's a reasonable offer, but we can't budge on this because apparently whoever sends it to them." But I've been watching a lot of these brands just going doom, 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 down like that, and that was one that never hit. Also, too, Nino, be careful because I noticed that one of them was if this is for you, it's great, but some of them were for women's watches. I guess they were the women's version of the Parmigiani Persian. So I think I saw one of those there. So make sure it's not that one. Okay, who is just get the Roger Dubuis. Okay, Tippy. I don't know. I've been debating that because they're both interesting watches. Um, and oh boy, they have is from that series. The Roger Dubuis I really like is a Sympathy. It's a funky looking, is weird looking watch, but I like it. I know some guys who have them. Parmigiani movements are Vaucher movements. They are outstanding movements. Yeah, Tim, Vaucher makes some movements, but Michel Parmigiani is the one who creates them. He designs them. Get a Lamania Paul Elfstrom Regatta timer. Okay. Let's see. Unfortunately, no display case back. Right, Joseph. That's a good point. That may, I tell you though, my overseas that I wore for years, the Vacheron Constantin overseas, the early ones didn't have an exhibition back. They had a picture of a boat of one of those old square riggers. I think it was Americas or something like that. So it was a nice engraving and everything, but but the movement wasn't that interesting, so it didn't really matter. I've seen all Omega watches info. None catches my eye except the 300-meter. I think you mean Seamasters, the Seamsters, the ones which are based on the Omega heritage. I like the Seamasters too. Those are cool. Let's see. The Pershing 05 is really big. The Pershing 02 is better sized and has metal pushers for the chrono, which I prefer. I have the silver dial, black subdials, great watch bracelet. Thanks, James. The Parmigianis that I have are, I like them both. I wear them both a lot, and like I said, it's sort of nice to have a watch where you actually know who did the design. How many more weeks do you recommend us to wait to see better prices? I don't know. I tell you, Mark, it's so hard to tell. A lot of different things could happen, and so I'd be foolish to predict. What usually would be the best thing is have faith in your own ability to negotiate. What I found in the past, I'll make an offer. That's my offer. I say, this is our price. Well, I got my price too, and since I'm buying it, that ought to count for something. And they can always say no, or they can come back with a counter offer. But if they just say no, then I walk. And I found out that works pretty well. The Romanian movement are beginning to have scarce part sourcing. Make sure which model. Yeah, John. Yeah, that's one of the things. You know, there's a company that's owned by Festina that makes the parts and spare parts for them, and it's called MHIJ or something like that. And it's a really interesting company because it can make parts for the Festina watches, including, really classic ones like the El. But they have, and the way they do it, they use nanotechnology, and they've got these. The whole thing is computerized, so they basically put in the specs for the movement. The thing makes the movement for them, and pop it into the watch. So I think you're going to see more of that. It's not that hard. I mean, there was with 3D movements that I mean 3D uh, printers. That's stuff. That's stuff we have. You can always leave the watch on the window every morning. Yeah, you can do that. But if you want one. Okay, let's see. Now they're shrunk to making movements for other companies. Hey, Joseph, what's that? Dealers will hang on to their stock rather than selling too cheaply. Do not expect much more than 10% off during this crisis. I don't agree with that, Joseph, uh, because, here's what's going to happen. Uh, Nobody knows what the economy is going to look like after this thing. Some huge employers like Macy's company have always sort of been on the edge, and that this they've been talking. This thing may tip them over. The same thing with J.C. Penney's. For years, they've been using a business model for retail sales that has really been sort of uprooted for the last at least 20 years. And I don't know why that is not quite as obvious as it was. So I think a lot of these guys are going to have stock, and there's going to be some major drops. Now, that's my estimation. Um, but we'll see. Okay. But I don't know where you get the 10% from. But if somebody's got a markup, like with a Patek Philippe AD has 100% markup. Okay, so if he buys a watch for $10,000, he sells it for 20, and he can't discount it unless he's got some kind of rigmarole that he has to go through. But once you get into the pre-owned, or what you say is pre-owned, okay? Because I think a lot of stuff is sold as pre-owned, and it's not pre-owned. It's basically unsold, and they have to drop the price on it. But then they say they don't want to drop the price. I've heard that argument, and it just, a lot of times it doesn't hold water. I mean, you've got a bunch of watches you're using as doorstops. That's not going to help you at all. Of course, if you don't make any money, what do they say? No one ever went broke making a profit. JC Penney becomes a penny stock. Oh, Forbin. Okay, cost of basic Rolex is 1,500. They add 2,000 markup and sell it AD. In turn, they sell it for $1,500 markup and sell it for 5,000. It's something like that. Actually, the model that's been used in business for years has been 10 times the manufacturer price. They did that based on the cost of producing it, the shipping costs, the warehousing costs, the yada yada yada, all of these other things. Now, what Amazon did, it cut out so many of those things and then they went to what is it called, Kindle, with their Kindle, and so people get it and read it on their iPhone if they want, or on their computer. And so here you've got this different model, and and that's what people are dealing with. Here's the other funny thing: people are flipping out over iPhones when they went up to $1,000. and we talk about a watch uh, at $1,000 being a bargain. It's just it's a funny world, and more people are going to be buying smartphones, I think, as timekeepers, and so this continues to be a hobby, and its own, you know, somebody who is looking like an up and coming young executive has got the latest smartwatch, not the doesn't have a Patek Philippe anymore. So I think we're going to go through a big change, and as much as none of us want the dealers or the manufacturers to go broke because they're the ones that provide us with the watches that we like to collect. I don't know. It's not going to be an easy thing, I'll tell you. When I worked at Macy's 20 years ago, full health insurance cost $1.85 out of every paycheck. The electronics floor did huge business, and they had a strong mail order. Um, they didn't build on. Yeah, yep, that happened to a lot. Look at Sears Roebuck. This is what's so amazing. Sears Roebuck, they were the ones that really started online sales in mail order, but they never turned that around into online sales. J.A. Sykes, Amazon also killing the environment with individual boxes and separate deliveries for each one. Oh yeah, Jay. I don't know if Amazon is not alone in that. The whole packaging business is part of it too, and they put it in a box. I don't know if that's going to kill the environment, especially with the recycled stuff. It's very unfair to see the ads dangle those beautiful watches in front of us and mark it up 100%. Mark, yeah, that's uh, there are only certain ones that can get away with it. I'll put it that way. Uh, if an AD is caught selling a certain brands, Rolex, I think, and Patek Philippe, both being ones, they get in trouble and they may lose their their AD ship or whatever they call it. But here's what you can do. All right, let's say you got some old beater watch at home, like my old Raymond Weil. So I go in there and I want to negotiate with them, and they got a watch. This one I have in mind is a Rolex Yachtmaster 2. Well, that thing has been hanging around the store for a while. I tried it on, really liked it. And I think it was 18,000, something like that. Well, if I want to negotiate, let's say I wanted it for, I didn't have 18, I want to buy it for 16. And he's still making, let's see, so he's got $9,000 that he paid for it, let's say, and he's got the 100% markup. Okay, so if you bring it down by 2,000, he's still making a pretty hefty profit. But if he's caught doing that, he'll lose his Rolex account. So what they do, I got my old ratty Raymond Weil, so I take that in there with me, and I'll say, I tell you what, I'll buy it for 16,000 if you and give me a $2,000 trade in on it, Raymond Weil. Now the Raymond Weil isn't worth 200, let alone 2,000. But if they did it that way, then they're not going to get in trouble with their having their account. So that's what a lot of watch collectors of a certain of a certain way do things. Why would anyone want to buy a watch that ADs obviously don't want to sell you? I don't know who. If an AD doesn't want to sell you a watch, I don't think they would do that, would they, Jay? Uh, oh, one they may not want to sell you. This happened to me once, Jay. Let me tell you what happened. Uh, was an outfit in Beverly Hills, and this guy there, he and I had made a deal on a FP Journe Octa, okay, automatic, and it was, I don't know, he knocked it down a couple $1,000s or whatever it was, I don't remember. And so I was all set to go on the thing, and then and then I contacted him. He said, "Oh, I can't sell it to you." He said, "One of my regular customers wants it." Well, some people say, "Oh, whoa, that's a terrible thing." They made a deal with you and then they go to their regular customers. I didn't see it that way. Okay. The reason I didn't see it that way, I'm thinking, okay, here's an AD that treats his regular customers in a special way and gives them better consideration than some guy, they never met before. So, that for some reason that seemed okay to me. In fact, it seemed like, well, it's pretty good AD. Now, what happened later was really funny. So I went off and so I had some FP Jordan money and I found this guy in New York and he had a residence, got that instead. So about a month after that, this other guy calls me back and says, "Hey, the guy didn't want it after all. Do you still want it?" He said, "No, I already got one." So I mean, so there's situations where they won't sell you one, but I don't know, all kinds of crazy stuff happens. What do you think of Jean Ricard Automatic? Jean Ricard is a very inexpensive brand. They don't make their own movements, but some of their watches look pretty nice. Supposedly, Sears Roebuck had such an efficient mail order system. The U.S. Post Office studied how they move so many packages so well. They also sold kit houses. They did all kinds of stuff like that. You could also buy back in the old days, back in the one of the problems that they had with drugs use uh, was that Sears Roebuck would sell you a syringe, and people would go home and shoot up on all different kinds of things that were sold as all of these snake oil things. They weren't funny. They had that. That's most of the addiction that came about after not World War II, after the Civil War, was morphine based and cocaine based uh, quote medicines. You certainly forgot about the pain, but wasn't good for you. Jay, I don't know if he did that or not. What I think he's doing, he's trying to stay in, maybe you call it hedging his bets, but it didn't work out apparently, at least for one watch. This guy, I mean, this is a Beverly Hills jeweler. He's got plenty of FP Journes, but he's got certain customers he's got to take care of too. Jean-Claude Biver, in a recent interview, claims that the watch industry will recover by April of next year. Hey, May, I don't know. I've got no idea. Uh, Jean-Claude is, he's been around a lot, but he hasn't always been right. Hey, underachiever, how you doing? I'm waiting a few months for prices of watches to really take. Just waiting for the for the fires. Oh boy, do you think that some of the prices are going to collapse given the current economy? For some watch companies, they may. I don't know. I mean, it's like, let's face it. How when people don't have an income, there are a lot of people. The unemployment has just gone crazy with the idea that everything's going to come back later. Well, in the meantime, you're going to take pretty good care of your money, would be my guess. I can't imagine anybody who, right now, who's on a sort of shaky financial situation who could have afforded, let's say, 2 months ago, it wouldn't have been a problem. It is now. This is one of the funny things. In January, Rolex announced all of its raising all of the prices of its watches. If something bad happened to them because they did that, I don't know how many people would feel sorry for them. I certainly wouldn't. What do I think about the automatic loom? Uh, Mark, um, not a fan of automatics. Okay, you know that. But if I had to have an automatic, that would be certainly one I'd like to have. I'm not crazy about moon phases because they just sort of sit there. They don't do a lot. Uh, and it's sort of like If you want an FP Journe, you get a good price on a Octa moon phase automatic. That'd be a nice watch to have. It'd be a wonderful watch to have. But I like winds up in a the it's called the Optimum. The FP Journe Optimum is a wind up, and that has the Remontois Galaté. Do not wait too long to purchase the watch you love. Okay. Any new releases today? I don't know. You see prices drop on entry level and mid level watches. Most of the high end stuff are living paycheck to paycheck. Most owners of the high end stuff? Wow, I didn't know that. The Swiss watch industry is in trouble due to the second quartz watch crisis, Fitbit, etc. With the COVID-19, they're going to get a knockout. I hope not, but that may be true. Those people are looking to buy everything. Who are those people, Andrew? Let's see. I don't know. Hey, Francisco, how you doing? Right now, Patek, the Royal Oak, and Rolex are considered the big three for the average people. But Patek, AP, and Vacheron are for us the holy trinity. What would it take to for VC to be more popular? I don't know. That's a good question. Anybody want to, for the average person, there are a lot of nice Vacheron Constantins that I know a lot of people would love to have. I happen to like the triple calendar a lot, and I also like the Caudalie. So there's, there are a bunch I like to have. It's just, that's the problem. Some people say, well, how come you don't get one of these? I can't afford it. There's another watch I'd rather have. I think it's lame. I've learned my lesson. No more contractions for me. High-end owners are not living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. That's what I was. That's Jay. That was Jay's contact. Well, that's sort of interesting. The guys who have the Dufours, yeah, they're living paycheck to paycheck. That's one of the best one of autocorrects that I've seen. Be the true high-end Rolex. I don't know. People not living paycheck to paycheck that have enough to buy a couple of six-figure watches a month. I don't think so. I think VC to be popular is to drop their prices. They've done that, Mark. They really have. Look what they did with the 56. They got that thing down under, I think it's almost under 10,000. I mean, you have a watch where the basic price is 20,000 and now it's 10, but you got the same people making it. It's probably a pretty good deal. The problem I think they had with the entry level 56 is that they have that movement by Val Fleurier that people figure, well, that's really not in-house. The next level up, the day date, I think is what it is, of the 56 is really a great watch. I mean, it's really fantastic. Everything's in-house. It's what do they call that? Geneva seal on the movement. Man, I tell you, they've got just all kinds of good stuff, and they have dropped it. And I think it may have upped it some. Some people like the entry level 56 because it's a Vacheron Constantin, and it's going to be a nice watch. But here's the thing: I would have a hard time doing. One of the entry level 56s with the Val Fleurier movement is gold, and of course, gold's going to bump it up a lot because the price of gold is insane. And so I don't know. That would be a hard thing. I like gold watches a lot, but they're really expensive, so I don't get too many of them. If I find a really good buy and it happens to be gold, that I like a lot better. But let's see. What would be your pick for a manual wind about 5,000 or less? Yeah, you're right about that, Jay. Let me think. What would be a wind-up watch, a hand wound under 5,000? You know what a great one would be? I don't know if it's under 5,000. You might find them somewhere like a Joma shop or something. Would be a Reverso. I think a Reverso is a great deal, and they're hand wound, and they tend to be under. Well, I think they're. I don't know what they start at. I think maybe around 6, 7,000, something like that. But that would be a pretty close one. But I like for a guy, I like the bigger ones, the bigger Reversos. I don't know what they're called. Who else has a good hand wound under 5,000? Um, yeah. Oh, there are a lot of them I like. They typically sell more sports watches in Western base and sell more dress watches in Eastern base. Okay. Harboring 2. Tippy, that's a great example. Harboring 2 Felix, under 5,000 or right around 5,000. That would be the one I'd get. I like that. Khaki Field Mechanical for $250. Yeah, that's something else. High Quarters Eye, Dornburn and Son. That would be another good one. Quarters Eye. See, there are a lot of good ones. The thing to do, if you have a certain amount you want to, that you set as your limit, the more you look, the more you're going to find, and that's the way it is. I'd saved up for over 6 months for this watch that I had wanted a H Moser, um, and then when I went to get it, that was from the guy in Switzerland who had problems. And so then I went to another one, and for around the same price, a little more. The one I wanted, the guy said, "Oh, I'm selling it tomorrow for somebody else already has it." So I lost that one. Then I found another one, and then I ended up with my brown Endeavor, and that was one I was meant to have because I really like it, and it's a 7-day. So I wind that thing up. I had it on today because um, I after I wore my little Seiko 5, brought it home and washed it with soap and water after I'd taken it to the grocery store, and got it all cleaned up and everything because I don't want to have any bugs on it. And so I thought, well, I'll put on a nice watch. And I put on the Endeavor, and the reason for it was I remembered I'd wound it sometime recently, and it's a 7 day. So I figured, well, it's still ticking. So I put that one on just because of that. The same with this one. This is another 7-day. Pop it on. I'm looking at a Longines moon phase for 20th anniversary present. There are a lot of nice Longines with a moon phase. Harboring 2 chronographs are cool. I agree. I really like the Doppel. H Mosers, I agree. Quarters Eye. FC makes a good one too. Andrew, Frederick Constant. I don't dislike Frederick Constant, but I don't like him either. That's a funny thing. I guess the thing that is sort of turned me on them was that their gold is all gold plated, even though they make their in-house movement. And I've had their watches on, and they have that good heft that I like in a watch. So I think they make quality watches. But if I ever got a Frederick Constant, I'd get a all stainless steel with no gold on it whatsoever. Nomos Orion 33 around 3.2. Oh yeah, Nomos. Nomos is another great one, Mark. That's for a hand wound. That's another good one. Get their sector dial or big eye. Okay. Well, look, guys, I went way over my allotted time, so I better get going. And thank you all for coming. Everybody stay safe, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.